conference meeting this December 2nd, 2020, a glorious day for the city of Fort Lauderdale and for the members of the commission. I want to congratulate the members of the commission once again on their new term and welcome back. And under new circumstances, you feel safe?
I feel good. Yes. Nice job, everyone.
Okay, so let us begin. It's kind of warm in here.
Yeah.
It's a little warm. Okay. So, did you read the preamble? Did I hear you read the preamble? No, I'll read that. The city of Fort Lauderdale is hosting commission meetings in both a virtual and in-person format. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the commission virtually is required to complete the virtual speaker card. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the commission in person may sign up to speak at the meeting or by using the virtual speaker card. Due to COVID-19 distance requirements, there is very limited seating available. Therefore, we are encouraging members of the public to participate virtually when possible. The public will be able to listen to and view commission meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV or www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, all spelled out, as well as Comcast Channel 78 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. To speak on an agenda item, please click on the link below, which is B as in boy, it.ly/virtual CC meetings. That's bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. So let us begin. Commissioner Moritas, District 1. Anything to report today?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to echo, it was a wonderful ceremony at the swearing-in ceremony today. It was good being with you all, and thank you, staff, for making that happen. And a virtual swearing-in ceremony, that made history probably, huh? Virtual swearing-in.
It is.
Zoom, all this stuff. So it's so good to see Vice Mayor down there.
It is good to see me.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
have a new friend joining
Yes.
us.
We don't feel as lonely this time, do we?
No, not as lonely, even though you were plenty for me. It's so good to see you too. But anyway, so great event. Light Up Fort Lauderdale was last night. So I was in the Galt, District 1. We were watching you live on, I think it was Facebook, when you were down at the beach as we were awaiting our tree to be lit up. So once again, thank you, staff, for that. It was a little bittersweet because I was remembering last year. And it was really different. And it was, so I had really mixed emotions. The restaurant that I had a little gathering at last year for all the guests to gather first before we actually closed down. And I did not know that. Closed down about 3 weeks ago. So I really felt the pain of the businesses last night and just how it's difficult. So I know we had an event last night, but I'm hoping we are really doubling our party budget, because once we get through this pandemic, we need to have a lot of parties and festivals, and just to really spur that economic, stimulus that we can in all of our districts throughout the whole city. So I'm looking forward to having a celebration each week all throughout the city when we can. Whatever we can do for our businesses, we really need to do. I see Representative Lamarcus here too. I was on a call with him last week with the Broward League of Cities, and we are talking about legislative priorities also. And Senator Thurston kind of updated us that we can expect about $5 billion we will be about $5 billion short in the state budget for the next 2 cycles. So that's a big hit too. So from the federal government to the state government, I don't really know what we can expect from them. So whatever we can do down here on a local level, really to encourage our small businesses, we need to do. So I look forward to working on those initiatives with you all. Also attended the National League of Cities Summit last week and voted. Next year we'll be in Salt Lake City, hopefully, if anyone, in November. So hopefully we will all be able to attend that. Should be nice. This year, obviously, it was on Zoom. A lot of talk about, obviously, the pandemic, how to get back to normal, social equity, and then public safety. They did launch a new website for any commissioner who wants to get a little bit more involved. It's www.nlc.org, and they have different peer groups and advocacy groups that you all can be a part of nationally. So I encourage you to do that too. So I think that's it. Obviously, some concerns last night at my District 1 meeting, or 2 nights ago, actually. The trash schedule apparently changed. I don't know if anyone got a lot of complaints about that.
Well, for some neighborhoods it changed, not everybody.
Some neighborhoods there was a change, correct? 'Cause my neighborhood actually didn't change, so I really wasn't as aware of it until I went to my District 1 meeting. And there was a change, a little bit of concern that they didn't know about it, which probably meant, I don't know. I think apparently it was mailed to them, but just different people maybe didn't get
Yeah, I
that
got it.
message.
It's a big postcard I got.
You got a postcard?
But you're
So-
you're right, and I think we'll hear this brought up a couple times this afternoon. We did not communicate as well as we should have about the pending change.
I think so. Okay. I
So
wasn't exactly
we did
sure.
do some communication, but it wasn't what it should have been.
Okay, so that's really the only concern I had from District 1. And like I said, thank you staff for the light up event. And I really look forward to a lot more events when we get a vaccine and we can get back to
All right, great. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And it is nice to be here with Commissioner Moritas and you today. Thank you. Very cozy, and staff did a great job. I think this is a wonderful setup under the circumstances. So thank you to everyone who constructed what we have around us today. And
I think the chief architect was our city clerk.
excellent.
City
Well,
Clerk. Chief
good
Architect.
job. Good job, City Clerk Jeff. Congratulations. And Raj, too.
Raj, okay.
Wow.
Unspoken
Okay.
hero, Raj.
Yes, Raj is involved in every project in the city. Thank you, Raj. Again, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Moritas, and congratulations again today on the swearing in for everyone, and Commissioner McKenzie and Commissioner Sorensen. It was a great day, and for everyone who put that together today under very different circumstances, congratulations. I thought it went really well and smooth, and it was really a very nice event. So thank you for that, for everyone that was involved. Before I begin, last week I did want a belated birthday to Chris and to Alan, who both had birthdays last week. I think a day apart. So happy birthday, belated birthday, and I hope those were good ceremonies for both of you and some good times on those days. Happy birthday. Okay, what did we do in the last week and the week coming up? A lot going on in District 2. Thursday, November 19th, we had a good meeting with the Breakers Avenue stakeholders. Thank you, Ben Rogers and staff, for that as we move along on that project. That evening, I also attended the Central Beach Alliance meeting. The next day, on the 20th, Commissioner Sorensen and I had a meeting with the Los Olas Mobility Working Group, and we're working feverishly to get that plan to the commission, and that will probably come to the commission in February. So we're meeting very regularly now, and we're really hammering out all the details on that. Saturday, November 21, it was a pleasure to join the mayor and others at the 5th annual grocery and turkey giveaway, the Unity in the Community gathering. So heartening and yet so sad, and just to see the need that's out there. That event started at 9 a.m. and the cars lined up on Federal Highway and around Sunrise at 4 a.m. in the morning. Thousands of cars starting at 4 a.m. To receive the turkey and other groceries for Thanksgiving. Some people actually said, with tears in their eyes, said that that was their chance to get some food for that week. So it was really an eye-opener to see that need in our community. All those involved in doing that, I know we did a proclamation at our last meeting, but congratulations for always stepping up.
Well, just to add to that, when you're standing in line waiting for these cars to come by, one of the tasks that I was assigned was to make sure people open up the back of their truck or their vehicle to put the box of food in. And many people said, they couldn't open up their back. So, well, that happens to my car too sometimes, but I said, put it in the back seat. So I open up the back.
I can't hear you too well, Mayor, just FYI.
Can you hear me now?
Better, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So when I went to open up the back door of many people's cars, I see clothing, I see shoes and all that. I said, I'm trying to make room here. You have all your clothes here. And one car after another said, well, we're still living in our car. We've been thrown out of our apartments and we're living in our car. So I don't think enough people understand the level of destitute that we experience here in Fort Lauderdale. COVID-19 has had a serious impact on our community, and there is a stratum of folks in our community that's still suffering, still out of work, and I agree with Commissioner Moritas. Yes, we do have this COVID-19. We must protect ourselves. We must remain safe, but we got to get people back to work. We have to restore the business community to ensure that people have a place to go to work, earn a living, put food on their table, and have a roof over their heads. So, and I know you experienced the same thing when you're out there. So it was really a firsthand experience of what's the tragedy that has befallen our communities as a result of this COVID-19 crisis. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to point.
No, I understand, and yes, it was heartbreaking to see what we did see on that day. So yes, you're right. The need is great, and I too, to concur with both of you, look forward to making sure that we're able to get our businesses up and running again, and folks back to work. So thank you for that. Mayor, and actually Commissioner Moritas, and I think Commissioner McKenzie showed up. We had the Fort Lauderdale Air Show. I felt that was done really well. I saw a lot of mask wearing and also people keeping distance. It did not have that heavy duty, shoulder to shoulder crowd on the beach feeling that all the other years had prior to this.
People naturally try to keep their distance from me. I mean, it became, sorry.
No, that's okay. From you. Yes, I understand. But it was really, I think, really well done. And I think that it was a template for how you can do those kinds of events and make sure that people are following the proper protocols.
Well, they had that sandbox concept, which was really clever.
Yeah.
And people stayed in a certain area. The beach was not packed. And I think it allowed us to have a safe event and an enjoyable event, allow people to get out of their homes. So
yep.
I concur with you.
It was a beautiful day. I was only there the one day, the Sunday, but I'm both days, nice breeze, and that kept the air moving and circulating. And that was great. So I was happy to see that event return. I have not heard any negative comments from the beach constituents on that event at all, which is a good thing. And then obviously we did all celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday, and even in these very difficult times, there's still so much for us to be thankful for. And I'm sure we all had that in our heart that day as well. I had a good conversation with the incoming, actually newly elected school board member, Deborah Hickson, following up on another meeting I had with Sarah Leonardi, a new school board member, because I do feel it's important for us to continue the good relationships that we've established with the school board, making sure they know how important education is to this city commission. Last night, joining the mayor in 2 stops for lighting up the city at the Loop, the Las Olas Oceanside Park on the beach, and then also light up downtown the Jack and Jill's Children's Center and Styles. Both events, again, not publicized that much. The light up downtown had a group with Jack and Jill. The beach, we did not promote that, obviously, to make sure that we did not have the crowds that we normally had. But the lights look beautiful and the spirit is there. And I think people will enjoy just walking through the park. And it was really beautiful to see how nicely lit everything was. And Santa was in a good mood, which always makes it pleasant.
We had a little trouble with that switch at the beginning.
The switch, the tree gave us a little difficulty at first, but it did correct itself, and the entire tree was lit up, and that was good. So it all worked out, and everything is lit up.
Mazel tov.
The park looks beautiful. Yes. So that's good. Tomorrow, Thursday, December 3rd, I'll attend the International LGBTQ Leaders Conference. Victory Fund is doing that. That's an elected officials virtual summit tomorrow morning through the afternoon. Also, Commissioner Sorensen and I will have another meeting of the Las Olas Mobility Working Group tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I will say on Monday, we will pause and remember Pearl Harbor Day on Monday, December 7th from 1941. It's also my mom's 89th birthday that day, December 7th. She was actually 10 years old. They were celebrating her 10th birthday party, and they turned on the radio to play musical chairs and heard that Pearl Harbor was bombed. So that was her 10th birthday.
What a celebration.
What a celebration. Exactly.
Happy birthday to your mom.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I will tell her you said so. Tuesday, December 8th, we have the International Swimming Hall of Fame Board of Directors meeting I'll be attending. Also that day is Taco Craft opening on Federal Highway, which we're looking forward to in Flagler Village. And also that day is the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association's virtual holiday party. So a lot going on Tuesday, December 8th. Wednesday, December 9th is the 19th annual John and Elizabeth Toy Drive virtual fundraiser. The Central Beach Alliance gets very involved in that every year. John Weaver is a past president of the Central Beach Alliance. May he rest in peace. I think it's maybe been a year or two since he's passed away now, but Elizabeth, his widow, continues to do that toy drive, and it's a really wonderful event. It will be virtual this year. That night is also the Sailboat Bend Civic Association meeting. There is an interesting public meeting coming up on Thursday, December 10th, with transportation and mobility and also county transportation regarding a very tough, dangerous intersection on Northeast 3rd Avenue and the FEC Railroad crossing. We'll get some more information out on that if people want to tune into that as well. Thursday, December 10th is also Bonnet House's vision, 2026 vision. So the next 5 years they'll be mapping out, and that's at 5:30 that night. December 10th is also the first evening of Hanukkah. So everyone who's celebrating Hanukkah on December 10th, have a very happy Hanukkah. Just a couple of comments I've been getting at my District 2 meetings and also through other meetings. People want to sort of know what the latest is with vacation rentals. There's been a lot of questions about that now. Are the COVID restrictions still in place? Chris, do you know, or Alan, where are we exactly with how vacation rentals are restricted right now?
They are still restricted. Actually, there's a 3 or 4 page attachment 18 to Broward County Emergency Order 2024 that they have to abide by. There's obviously a lot of content, but some of the more notable aspects are that they can't have large parties or large gatherings. They have to comply with COVID restrictions. The occupancy is limited to the number of guests that are listed on the vacation rental itself, as well as including any guests, but they have to be listed and have to be approved by the property manager. And actually, the amount of folks in the vacation rental, inclusive of guests, shall be limited to no more than 6 persons unless they're related, which at that point can be 10.
Okay.
And some of the more notable restrictions, but they have to follow all COVID-19 guidelines like anyone else, like any other establishment. So they are subject to this particular attachment. It's available on the website for the county. It's actually easy to get to. It's attachment 18 of Order 2024.
Okay, great. No, thank you for that clarification. People ask about that quite often. Just one last comment. I wanted to note that the other day I was driving north on A1A through Lauderdale by the Sea, and a very large hotel property on the corner was demolished. What struck me was not the demolition of the hotel, but how immediately they landscaped that entire awful lot that would have just been looked like awful. And we've seen that in our city when like the Natchez Hotel was demolished and then that corner on A1A just looked terrible for so long. But I was very impressed by how that entire corner was sodded, trees. It looked like a park. And I'm thinking maybe that's an example that we should try to follow when we have those kinds of situations in our city, because it just looked really nice. There's a for sale sign on the corner. So obviously they're trying to sell that property, but it did not look like a scar on the land, on the street. It looked like something really.
What are you getting at?
Well, I think we should try to do things like that.
So what does the Natchez property look like now?
Well, that's soon going to be our fire station. No, that's going to be different. But I'm saying we have instances of that throughout the city where we don't actually, make it look as nice as it could look until something happens on that site. And I was impressed that they were able to do that and make it look as nice. That's all. So I'm not really getting at anything except that I think we should maybe try to emulate that behavior. Exactly. That's all. And then I'm glad to see the progress just north of District 2 at the Gulf Ocean Mile area with the businesses and the streetscape project. And Chris, I just love to put in a little dibs for maybe that kind of project down the road for Sunrise Lane. I think Sunrise Lane is so in need of something like that. for many, many years. It's got that charm that that street they have up by north of the bridge, Oakland Park Bridge. Same kind of aesthetics. It could be really something special like that. So I'd love to get on the list for that and do those kinds of same improvements that we're seeing in that North Beach area.
Well,
So-
hasn't a private developer come in and did they buy up, the Italian restaurant, the pizza place, and a number of those stores? Aren't they planning to tear that down?
I haven't heard about the teardown. I did hear about a possible brewery going into the 900.
I don't know. I saw somewhere rendering that they're looking to redevelop that area. So before we go spending money there,
Oh yeah,
partner with them.
without a doubt. If something like that's coming to fruition, again, all I've heard is that maybe the 900 building, that brick building, the curve building is going to be redone, but I haven't heard
Okay.
anything else. And that's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner McKenzie.
First of all, I too am happy to be back with
Well,
this
you're breaking
commission,
up. You're breaking.
for the. Yeah, I'm on the cell. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can make it better.
I see two pictures of you.
Yeah, I know one is a background drop,
Okay.
and the other one is actually me. So with that, again, I want to just say I'm honored to be back serving this last term with this commission, and I look forward to moving forward the city's business as expeditiously as we possibly can in these next 4 years. And I congratulate you all on being reelected or not challenged, but it's all the same. So congratulations to you all. There are a few things that happened in the district. Our tree lit up last night, Mayor. It was nice. We had a few people out there. Some of those folks are one of the newest additions in terms of a business on the corridor that's located in the Fuse property building to the west of the CRA, Diamond Core Fitness. They came out and they're going to do a ribbon cutting later on. Maybe you all can join us for that. Smitty's Wings also did a soft grand opening, and they're inviting us, I think, on the 17th to come out and do the official ribbon cutting for that project. And I'm sure there's more exciting things on the way, but I wanted to make those announcements of those two businesses on the Sistrunk corridor. And I also want to again thank staff. From the charter officers, the public works, Parks and Rec, all of you that do the heavy lifting for me, and I'm quite sure my colleagues as well, day in and day out. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm just excited about moving forward these next 4 years. That concludes my report.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It was great seeing your son today at the swearing-in ceremony. That was nice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, congratulations to all of us and being sworn in, and for the public thank you for your trust in us, and staff, city staff. I'm pretty much useless without you all. So thank you for all you do. Just got several topics I want to touch on. Chris, do you want to kind of further dissect the just inability we had to communicate effectively around the trash, bulk pickup, yard pickup changes?
Yeah, I can. I think what it amounts to is we had a staff member that was prepared to deliver that information who is not in the workplace right now for personal and medical reasons, and we just missed it. We sent something out, and then we just didn't follow back up in a timely way or in a current way. So we've done our best to try to target the different neighborhoods that have changes and re-communicate with them in a targeted approach. And I don't have really any other explanation other than to say that we just missed the ball.
Yep. Appreciate it. And Chris, you and I talked about this, but I think and mayor and commission, I think anytime that the city's communication, strategic communications, or a city department is going to be mailing out physical mailers or physical door hangers to city residents, that to me should be kind of a bar or a cue that commissioners should definitely know about those going into the mail or going into door hangers on a commissioner's in a commissioner's district. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with strategic communications, but that should be one of the kind of things I think should be trigger communication with us and our team. Okay, great. And we'll dig into more of that. But Chris, can you then give us an update on 5 Ash and what's going on with moving that forward and possibly proposals coming in or so forth?
Yeah, we've talked about the owner's representative several times over the last several months. That RFQ has been authored. It is receiving its last bit of reviews right now. I read it last night for the first time, and several people have weighed in on the scope of work. And once we get that honed in, then we'll go to the market for those services and do a normal RFQ process like we do through our procurement group, and bring that the group on board to take the reins and lead us through the next part of the process.
Okay, and what's your estimated timeline for this?
We'll probably have it on the street for 2 to 3 weeks. I would think we would be sufficient. So I would say by the first of the year, we will have entertained the responses and have an idea as to what direction we're going to go.
Great. And so if I'm understanding it right, people can come forward with unsolicited proposals right now. Is that how this works?
Could always do that. Yeah,
Okay.
That's a totally different statute. And,
Yep.
there is something about the fact that it's unsolicited that we sometimes don't know when they're coming. But if all of a sudden we're in receipt of one of those, we would evaluate it just like we do any unsolicited proposal that comes in.
Okay, great. What is there anything else we as a commission can be doing to help you move this entire process forward as quickly as possible?
Just be ready for a contract to come forward to you early in January so that we can move forward with an owner's representative.
Okay, great. Thanks. Excellent. And this may be a question for Raj, but undergrounding, there are various neighborhoods throughout the city that are interested in undergrounding. Can we just get an update? Where are we in that? Who's on first? What happens next?
We can. Raj is here in the room. He's probably better positioned, or he or his staff are better positioned to give that update. But as you can see there, he goes to
Raj is coming to the podium now.
Great.
He's 6 steps, 5 steps.
I like the play-by-play.
Yeah. And it's a good question because you're particularly on the aisles, because that's where it
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Commission. Yes, we are going to be starting with the Las Olas Isles. We have received the bids. We are evaluating the bid, and the estimated start date for the undergrounding to begin is February of this next year. So,
Starting what though?
the
The construction?
actual construction, yes.
And which neighborhood would that start?
That's going to be the Las Olas Isles, the 8 streets in that neighborhood. So that is the first one. And then we are moving fairly, the next tile is going to be the one on the east Idlewild. And we have to do the layout just to make sure where the transformers are going to be installed so that we can physically see. So what basically the problem is that that we have encountered, and this is something that has also held up in addition to the contractors bidding on it, is that most residents, they want the undergrounding, but when the location of the transformer is decided, they just want to move around. And there is definitely somebody has to give something, and we try to make the adjustment, and that kind of causes some issue in terms of making the last minute adjustments, because they have to run the calculations the same way as we do with the pipes. So we are trying to reconcile. There are 3 or 4 that we know of that that we are working with FPL, but we believe that we can make the adjustment and we can start the construction sometime in February. So we are very close.
But that process has already been concluded for the Las Olas Isles neighborhood, correct?
Yes.
So we're still trying to figure it out in the Idlewild Isle area, Riviera
Yes.
Isle.
Yes, and at the same time, Mayor and Commissioner, that we want to create a website such that people who are interested, or the communities they are interested, they can make the application, and then we can go through the process. So we are trying to put all that on a website such that we can begin the evaluation for all the other communities who are interested in pursuing that. So that is being worked on right now.
Where are we in the Seven Isles neighborhood? Do we have a progress report there?
I cannot tell you, Mr. Mayor. I'll have to get back
You
to
know-
you.
Well, actually, that was way after. They were nowhere near the.
Right, but in terms of the sequence, I understand there were three, but I mean, where are we in that process? Do we know yet?
I don't even think. Have you been meeting with them at all, Raj?
No,
or
we have only had the communication with the Idlewild, with Mary Furdeck's group, and
Riviera Isle?
yes, the Riviera, that that neighborhood, and I believe that the plan they were probably the first ones to be, had the plans drawn up. But my interaction with FPL has revealed that they had some issues regarding the placement of the transformers, because of which there was some confusion. And this predates my time, so I'm just giving you what the staff has told me.
Okay,
So that's, and I think the Seven Isles is probably about the same time, but Las Olas Isles, they kind of, they took the leap, and that's why they are the first one.
okay, very good.
Yes.
Mayor, I do
Great.
have a- Raj, so help me with this, because there's always been discussion about those size of those transformers. And has technology changed at all? Because some people say you can see transformers now in certain areas where they're much smaller. They're not, what was proposed by FPL. Remember, this is something we've all been working on and looking at for now about 8, 9, maybe 10 years already. Has there been any change in the technology with regards to the size of those transformers?
Yeah, we have actually discussed that with FPL, but FPL is FPL. It's like, so it's, I think that's the monopoly. So
Empty out their warehouse of the.
yeah,
old stuff.
and that's, so you'll always have, several reasons why it can't be done. But we are constantly encouraging, and especially where the things are really tight in terms of the easement and the rights of way, we are just trying to see what is the best thing that we can extract from them.
And going forward, let's reach out and have a good discussion
Sure.
with Seven Isles as well, and see where they are in their thinking about this project, and just so we can keep it all rolling.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions, Commissioners?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Raj, for that update. So that sounds good.
Yes.
Harbor Beach, how's that discussion coming?
Harbor Beach, are they undergrounding?
Raj?
Yeah, Commissioner, I'm not too sure that there might have been some communication between the staff, but I don't have an update. But let me check with them. I'll get back with you.
Great. Yeah, but that all sounds great. That sounds great about Seven Isles and Idlewild. And then, staff has definitely been communicating with Harbor Beach. So,
One of
great.
the things we are trying to do is that many of these locations, they have got limitations in terms of the easements and rights of way. So it is going to take a little time for us to actually go and lay out such that they can physically see where the lines are, where the transformers are going, the size of the transformers, as Vice Mayor has said. So that is going to help people understand and make the decision if that's the route they want to go. So, and all that has to be arranged, and that takes time, and the priorities with the other surveying that but we are trying to move as expeditiously as we can.
Yep. Perfect. Thanks, Raj.
Yes, sir.
Great. Chris, Joint Government Campus, can you just give us an update? What happens next?
Yes, I'll be meeting with representatives of the staff of Broward County later this week. We've got some follow-up meetings planned for next week, and then we'll be back as the UDPA on December 15th.
Great. What are we supposed to accomplish on December 15th?
I hope that we leave that meeting with a path forward. I think we're probably going to have a bridge tunnel discussion and see where that takes us. But I hope to leave that meeting with some direction from the UDPA as to how we take the design criteria package that we've moved forward, and whether we solicit for a private partner or we choose a different path. But hopefully that'll be the takeaway from that meeting.
And don't we still have to update the ILA, or is that?
We do. Yes, we have to
Right.
update the ILA to allow for the additional work to continue, because technically the ILA that we had really ended when the design criteria package was approved.
Right. So I think we need to update that on December 15th, right?
Yeah, there is a draft that's been circulated that we're looking at.
Okay.
That should be dealt with on the 15th.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you. License plate readers, cameras for license plate readers. We've had, I know a bunch of us I'm assuming having conversations, and a bunch of neighborhoods around the city are interested in it. I think Assistant Chief Alvarez is having, there he is. I think he's having a community forum to kind of discuss that. Chris, I just want to make sure kind of we're all on the same page in terms of getting information out to folks on that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let the chief give us an update real quick.
You're on mute, I think, Chief. We can see you. I can't hear you yet, at least not me. Yeah, still not. We'll come back to you, Chief. Just whenever, just interrupt me whenever you're jamming. Okay, great. Let's see. We have this is a cool partnership between FDOT and the city, taking some basically FDOT land in Riverside Park and turning it into a dog park, at least for a short period of time until FDOT might need it. Alan, how are we doing in finalizing that?
I believe we're doing well. They've approved all our changes, so we did get word of that. We were waiting for the last person to execute, so we're just waiting for that paperwork back. But the good news is they approved all our changes.
Okay, great. Excellent. Let's see. That's it. That's all I've got, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay,
So
great.
let's take one more stab at the chief to see if he's
Oh,
there.
yeah.
If not, we'll get you an update at some point during the course of the day if he's not there right now.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We
We can see him, just no audio. Thanks, Mayor.
All right. Once he has audio, we can bring him in. All right. So a lot of the things that got involved with these last couple of weeks, I think most of which have already been discussed. A couple of things were not. We did a ribbon cutting ceremony for the first energy efficient solar powered residence by CDC Solar in 1425 Northwest 3rd Avenue. Beautiful home, powered by solar panels. At least most of it is. So it was a great moment, and Commissioner McKenzie was there. So it was a nice opportunity for the neighborhood to get together. Also, just down the street at the Society Building, we unveiled a statue, a 14-foot statue known as what was the name of the statue? Thrive. And it's basically a bust of a woman, and it was designed and built by artist Daniel Popper, who's a South African native. And what was really important is the fact that it's a significant piece of public art, which all of us would love to see more of, but they were able to provide it at their own expense, and in a very exciting area, as that area, the former Las Olas riverfront, is now being reimagined by the developers who have come in there and have made it a really special place. It's right next to the wharf, and also a new place that opened up called Bodega. So I invite you all to go down there if you haven't already seen it. It's really beginning of the new downtown. So I think it was just a great addition to our downtown urbanscape. In addition to the turkey and food giveaway at Sanctuary Church, I also participated that morning at the Old Dillard Museum, where we distributed food, clothing, and household items to folks who came there and several charities participated. It was really a great experience. I want to thank George Hrushka for organizing that, and it was just an important part of the city trying to help families in need, especially as a result of the COVID epidemic. And it was really a great gesture on the part of the city to participate and help facilitate that undertaking. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I know a lot of us stayed home and really didn't get a chance to share it with many of our friends and families that we normally did. But let's just hope 2021 brings more reasons to be thankful. On November 28th, we relaunched Art Walk for the downtown area. We had a ribbon cutting in front of the Hive, and it's going to start. So let's hope that people can come out of their homes, come out of their apartments, breathe the fresh air, still socially distance and wear masks, but still be able to appreciate the work of many of the artists that continue to work and operate in our community. Just yesterday, I participated in the commemoration of the 39th World AIDS Day event. 39 years since the discovery of the HIV virus. Can't believe it's been that long, but still no cure, still no vaccine. I think that we're very lucky to have found a cure, or at least a vaccine, for the COVID-19 virus. It's sad when a virus takes over the world, you know, the impact it can have. And here you have a virus that we're still grappling with to try to see if we can get a preventive measure for it. And then I want to thank Commissioner Vice Mayor Glassman for our effort to try to light up the beach. The Oceanside Park is absolutely beautiful with all the trees, and as well as the holiday tree all lit up. And on December 10th, I guess, where are we going to begin our first lighting of the Hanukkah menorah? Should we do it in City Hall, or should we do it on the beach? We have it on the beach. Maybe we'll have to figure that out.
There is a beautiful menorah there. Maybe we can, maybe Chris, we can speak to some of the rabbis in town
and have it over there on the beach at
We can do that.
Oceanside
and
Park.
hand out jelly donuts and have a good time.
Don't you eat marble cake?
It's donuts.
Only
Donuts.
Okay, sorry.
Donuts and potato pancakes, latkes. Sure.
Will you be catering?
No, I won't, but I'll be eating. Thank you.
We can plan something out there if you'd like to do it out there. It was
Be
a
nice.
it was a
on
nice
a-
venue last night.
Yeah, the air, the
Whole tree
fresh
finally
air,
lit.
the breeze, the big menorahs there.
Yeah,
Maybe we can get a hold of some of the rabbis and come up with something.
I think that would be nice.
Make sure when we flip the switch that all the lights come on.
And I think Pratima can help you. I think one of the rabbis actually requested maybe to do something, but I don't know if it was on the first night. We'll find out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Steve, can you invite rabbis from each district too? Because I know
But
there's,
all of the rabbis.
okay, especially the one, I know the gentleman I work
Yeah,
with.
you have a
Yeah.
significant.
Do you deal with
Chabad in your name.
Rabbi Spey from Temple Bat Yam, or do you deal with the
Yes.
Chabad on the Galt?
Yes, he's enjoyable.
You also have the Chabad on the Galt,
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I was thinking of, one of the goal,
and then you have Rabbi Spey over at the Temple Bat Yam off a commercial.
right? Which
That's in your district as
But you
well.
just a name.
Sheriff
drop.
Florinata too.
Thank you. Well, I keep
I'm sure
basically an address book of rabbi.
Okay.
You never know when you need one. Thank you.
I also want to mention that on November 21st, it was a busy day. I attended a holiday concert series at the Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church. The new pastor and his family invited us there, and it was really a nice event. It was mostly virtual, although there were about 30 people in the pews, distanced, of course, but a nice way to begin the holiday season. So, anybody else have anything else that they forgot to add or would like to add? If
Mayor,
not-
I just had a quick question for
Yes,
Chris
sir.
and Alan. A restaurant's asking me, they're planning a New Year's Eve event, and they're asking me, they heard that there's a 10 p.m. curfew in Fort Lauderdale. Chris Allen, can you clarify that?
I have not heard that.
There's no curfew at all in Fort Lauderdale.
I'm not aware.
Period.
So their event can last until they're regularly permitted to stay open. All right.
Until they pass out.
There is a county regulation at this point, I believe, and I have to go back, that I believe restricts the sale of consumption of alcohol past midnight, but not a closure. There is our old declaration, our former, shouldn't say old, our former declaration was somewhat tweaked by the governor's order with regards to the closure of businesses. So that 12 midnight that we had in there, so it was affected. But from the county standpoint, I believe it's only a restriction on alcohol consumption. However, being that we are still quite a ways from New Year's, I suspect we may get some additional clarification from the county as to what they're going to require for New Year's and the holidays. So anything we say today is always subject to change.
Yeah, but it's not about being out on the streets. It's about consumption of alcohol, and it cannot be served or consumed after midnight. That's been the
Right.
current-
That's been the, yeah.
yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Alan, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I know you've been communicating with my office in reference to something written, because we all probably get the same calls of what I can and cannot do. And I know that we get the interpretation from the governor, and then the county interprets it, and then we try to super interpret it, and then we really don't have anything but interpretations found all over the place. Is there anything written that we can say, point to this, and this is what you can and cannot do?
There is, except that, and I went through this with another one of your colleagues on what seemed to be a simple question, but the way the county has their orders set up, you essentially have to reference probably more than 2 or 3, even for one establishment, depending on the variety of things they do within that establishment. So there's not one document. I know that in my last conversation with the county attorney, they are working on a consolidated order, which would include everything versus having to reference back to prior orders that have been amended, because it's very hard to navigate at this point, and it's very hard for businesses, as you've pointed out, to be able to even do that. At this point, all I can offer is any particular business that has a question, I can, make an interpretation.
And for the record, you have been very good answering that, but unfortunately, we get the calls, and I don't want to inundate you, but you have expressed to me, send the calls, and you have done just that in terms of answering their questions. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, Chris?
We do have, let's see if we can go to the chief real quick. I think he's available now to talk about license plate readers and
Chief Alvarez. Hello.
No,
We still can't hear him. He's
hear
trying to talk. Yeah. Okay.
he's
Okay.
muted either.
we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that later.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have any report to make today?
I may have a couple things at the end of the meeting, but we have several people that have dialed in for the items that you're going to hear.
Okay.
Let's do those if we can. And then
All right. So we move on to CF1 quarterly investment report for the period ending September 30, 2020. Anyone have any questions regarding our investment report?
Mayor, we have Susan Grant with us today, as well as our financial advisors. Susan, do you have just a short presentation that you?
I do, and good afternoon,
Susan, are we in the money?
So the city operating funds, CRA funds, and the longer-term portfolio all exceeded our benchmarks for both the quarter and for the fiscal year end, for the 12 months ended September 30th. The actual yield on those funds for the fiscal year was 3.32% compared to the benchmark of 3%. The OPEB funds, I know we have the OPEB meeting a little later, but I'll just touch on that. We're slightly below the benchmark for the fiscal year at 9.1% versus the 9.3% benchmark, but they did exceed the assumed rate of return for that portfolio of 7%. So that's all I have. We're going to be available for questions, but Richard Pengelly is here from PFM, and he'll be able to give you a quick market update as well.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, really at this point, there's 2 big things that are driving what's going on in the investment world. At the short end, for your cash and cash reserves, it's the Fed and the Fed's decision over the summer and fall to change how they're targeting inflation, such that they're likely to keep short-term rates close to 0 for the next couple of years. So you have that going on at one end, and at the other end, everything is really driven by the pace of the virus. Fortunately, we have been and you touched on this before, getting some good news in the way of 3 vaccines that are look like they're close to approval. One actually was approved in the UK for use. There's behind those 3, you've actually got another 70 plus that are in some part of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials. So a lot of positive progress on the vaccine front, which makes calendar 21 look like it's going to look better. Over the summer, there was some sort of head scratching in especially in the institutional investment world around what was going on in the equity markets, but it seems like those views are being borne out here as we're going into 2021. Generally in the portfolio, the longer term part of the portfolio that we manage, the cash reserves, the focus has been on trying to take advantage of some of the small additional yield that's available in the agency market from greater issuance there. We were also seeing that there's more issuance of taxable municipal securities, a lot of that driven by some changes in the tax code from a couple of years ago. But outside of that, it's really just working to try and pick up extra basis points as the general level of yields have cruised down significantly and are likely to continue cruising down over the course of the next year or two. So I can answer any specific question. I know you have kind of the full report in front of you.
Anyone have any questions of Richard? No. I have a couple questions, Richard.
Sure.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeing a disconnect between what's going on Wall Street and what's going on Main Street. That adage of the mom and pop operations, the retail operations, restaurants, people still out of work. You get the stock market, the equity market, as you call it, seems to be hitting new heights. What are we missing here? And are we invested in the equity market in a way that we are putting ourselves at risk? Should the market take a dive once it wakes up one day and sees how many places are out of business?
So I'll sort of answer that in two parts.
Is it a fair question to ask?
Sure. And, I'll answer it in 2 parts. Sort of the first part is, valuation in the equity market is driven by certainly what's going on today, but also expectations about what's going to go on in the future. And so, I think that's a lot of what you're seeing driving that disparity where the outlook is that there's going to be a big recovery from the big drop that we had earlier this year. And so that's driving valuations. And so that's part of that disconnect. Your cash portfolio is not invested in any equities, just to make that distinction. So your operating funds, it's all invested in fixed income and in high quality fixed income. So it's really your longer term portfolios. If you're looking in the report, like your OPEB and your other funds that do have equity exposure, and all those portfolios really have longer term, time horizons associated with them. So you aren't really looking at quarter to quarter changes. You're invested for the long term there, and it does make sense to continue to hold equities in those portfolios.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll revisit that in the next quarter. Anyone have any other questions?
Mayor, also just remember the equities, the stock markets always seems to be driven historically by much larger corporations than what we're talking about when you talk about the mom and pop and the small businesses. And
No, what
it's
I'm
just
saying,
always the way it's been.
I understand that, but these companies depend upon consumer purchasing. And if consumers are not working and they can't buy, then people are not buying Apple computers and they're not buying iPhones, and so that's going to impact these companies that are now projecting very optimistic yields, 6 to 12 months from now. And what Richard said, it's all expectation is what driving the market now. But I'm just saying there may come a time when they hit a wall and they realize that these expectations are false because when you see Disney's going to lay off 30 something thousand people next spring, that's a hit, and, but he said that we're not invested in equity markets, so I'm okay with that. So we're good. Thank you for that update.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, can I ask something completely unrelated to this?
With regard to the quarterly investment report or something else?
Completely unrelated.
Okay, so thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Susan. Yes, go ahead.
Thanks. And I guess it's for Commissioner or Vice Mayor Glassman, because it's his project and his district. But so EMS substation, because I'm just fresh off working on ours. I just want to check on we've it's been discussed. People have brought up to me the idea of a substation on Las Olas, which I think is a great idea. And so, Vice Mayor, I just want to check in with you. Anything we can do to help support that, or I don't know.
Well, as you know, Commissioner, we have talked about it even at our Las Olas Mobility Working Group meetings, and I'm sure we continue to. But I have had discussions with several folks along that corridor with projects coming down the road where we hopefully will be able to incorporate that EMS substation in perhaps a small garage or something like that. But yes, I have been in discussions with several folks looking at different locations that might work. And yes, that is definitely a priority.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. I just wanted to check in on that and support it, whatever we're doing. Okay, thanks, Mayor. That's it.
Very good. Okay, let us move on to business one. This is a discussion regarding the 2021 state legislative priorities and funding requests. Anyone have any comments on this?
I did, Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. When I look over the legislative priorities and appropriation requests from the city, and then I also look at the Florida League of Cities, everything on these documents is so important, so very important. But I think we've come to a point now where we have to just make sure that these are no longer, words on paper. I really want to see us dig in with our state representatives, our state legislators, state reps, state senators, and whether that's going to require meetings or what, but there needs to be a much more concerted effort between the city and the county and the state with regards to, and I'll just look at the smart growth infrastructure items with regards to water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure. I'll look at the water quality and resiliency with regards to sea level rise and climate change. I mean, we see these wonderful words every year in terms of priorities, but I just think we have to somehow dig deeper and take it to the next level.
Well, I see State Representative Chip LaMarca is on the line, as is Senator Gary Farmer. Chip, would you like to, did you have a chance to hear his question?
I did, Mayor. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Glassman. I'm not sure who is Vice Mayor right now, so I'll just go with Commissioner. From a standpoint of your concerns, we etched into state statutes recurring $50 million in beach renourishment statewide last year, which went up from 30 to 40 and then 40 to 50 over the last 2 years. In addition to that, the governor's budget, we've met the last 2 years of $625 million in overall water quality, environmental issues. And in that is a lot of what you have mentioned from a standpoint. So water quality, water projects. And then obviously we all are aware of the fact that the issues that have plagued the city due to aging infrastructure, we were able to work those out. The best my understanding, and at that point we're good there. So it's going to be our I think all of my colleagues in the House and the Senate priority to make sure that the environment and resilient projects in Fort Lauderdale and along our coast, my district, as you know, takes in 9 cities. 7 of them are on the beach or along waterways, and those are major important issues. So whether it's sea level rise with seawall projects or water quality issues or underground infrastructure.
Good. No, I think that's so important. Thank you for that, Chip. That's really appreciated. I just, whatever we can do to keep working together as a city, as a county, as a state, I just know that it's not going to get easier going forward. And I just want to make sure that we're all working together to do whatever we can to make sure that we're addressing all of these really important issues. While I have you guys on the line, I also see Senator Farmer as well. Thank you. How are we doing with some of our local issues and our preemption issues where we just get frustrated so many times locally, whether it's, vacation rentals or, banning plastics or, go down the list. But how do you see that playing out in the upcoming session in terms of local control for some of the preemption issues that we face with the state?
Commissioner, if I could jump in front of my good friend, the senator, real quick, because I've got to jump off. I can tell you from my perspective, I personally filed a vacation rental bill 2 years ago in 19. Didn't go anywhere. We're going to be working on it with our friends in the realtor organizations and other organizations so that local control will be where it belongs locally. And then from a standpoint of a lot of these issues, you mentioned the term working together. I think that's something I've worked on the time I've been there, and then also the county commission. The only thing I want to say towards that, and the senator and other representatives can fill in, your hire of Daphne Sainville, I think was a very smart choice, and you've got good lobbyists. But from a standpoint of somebody who knows the process in Tallahassee, Daphne is going to be critical to your success. And I would say to allow her to work with us, and we'll do our best to make sure that things come back to the city of Fort Lauderdale the way they need to be.
No, thank you for that, Chip.
Mayor, could I offer a little bit to the discussion?
Senator Farmer, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. If I could jump in here, because I too have a 2:30 meeting that I've held off that's waiting on me, because I wanted to try to be part of this discussion. Commissioner Glassman really identified a vexing problem that we've been dealing with, and that is this notion, this paternal notion by our legislature that they know better and that everything at the local level should be preempted. We were able to work together. It was actually a bipartisan group last year to stop what would have been a very bad vacation rental bill. Would have been very bad for the cities, Fort Lauderdale in particular. Again, it's a vexing problem, and the budgetary issues. Listen, let's just call it what it is. Broward County and the cities in Broward County have been a donor county and donor cities for decades now. We give much more in the way of revenue back to the state than we give back. I would encourage you all, it's still, obviously with COVID, this situation is still being developed and evolving as to participation in Tallahassee. But, it's critical that you all are up there and talking about the needs, the infrastructure needs. Living in East Fort Lauderdale myself right now, I see firsthand as I travel around all the pipes and the projects going on, and you all, have done a very commendable job, I think, dealing with a very tough situation. But listen, this is going to be an ugly, ugly budget year. People are going to be fighting crumbs if that. I'm just, I'm generally a very optimistic person by nature, but I'm just, trying to be very realistic with you all. And so I think educating the appropriations chairs and staff about these needs, showing how much you have done to preempt and try to deal with these things ahead of time when possible, and what a horrible situation, and really what a horrible hand you all have been dealt with regard to these water situations in particular. It's just of critical importance, and so we certainly will be there. I will be happy to have my staff help out. As the minority leader for our Senate Democratic Caucus, we will do what we can, certainly, and to make sure that our Broward County cities, and in particular the city of Fort Lauderdale, for me, it is taken care of. But and man, there are going to be a lot of people elbowing and jockeying for position and trying to, money out of this budget. So those of you who have relationships, I would encourage you to call on those relationships and try to use as much influence as you can, because it's going to be a tough budgetary year.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Senator Farmer, quick before you go, thank you for being here and thank you for championing the vacation rental. You mentioned appropriations chairs. That's something, at least me personally, I've never kind of engaged with around this. Would that be helpful for us to kind of engage with some of those chairs on the Senate and House?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
When your
All
funding requests are, that's where it starts in those local, or in those, appropriation subcommittees. And those chairmanships just got announced today. And so the chairs and vice chairs have been announced. The committee memberships have not been announced yet. Please feel free, have your staff, commissioner or the city staff can certainly reach out to our minority office. We'll send you that information so you've got the list of chairs. Yeah, and it's never too early to start.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, Mayor, if I can just jump in for a quick second. We did invite several of our delegation, obviously, to join us today. We've heard from a couple. I also want to point out that I see Representative DuBose is on the call, as well as
See
Representative
Senator Thurston's on.
Jenny and Senator Thurston as well. So we do have a quick presentation if you'd like one. If you're satisfied with what we presented in the meeting agenda, that's fine too. I do want to make reference and introduce, I think probably for the first time to many of you publicly, Daphne Sainville that Representative Lamarca mentioned, who has recently joined our team, who will be assisting us in managing our legislative agenda moving forward. So Daphne is here in the room, and we might I might ask her just to come to the podium just for a second and talk a little bit about her background, what she's done in this world.
Before Daphne speaks, Senator Thurston, did you want to add any comments to what your colleagues have said so far? Senator Thurston?
Well, yeah, I would just briefly, and I know that Senator Farmer had told you that he has to jump off the call. Unfortunately, we're going to the same meeting, so I'm going to have to jump off too. And I've met Daphne before, and I do think she's a very good person that you've selected for this position, and I look forward to continuing to work with her. We've worked with her in the past. I think that Senator Farmer is right about us being a donor city, donor county, and we need to continue to just emphasize that point as we all fight for the limited resources that we know are going to exist this session. And we're going to do that, and with Farmer's leadership, I'm sure we're going to be.
We lost you, Senator Thurston.
It's Bobby.
You muted.
And I was just saying that I'm sure we're going to be effective with Senator Farmer's leadership to addressing some of the needs that we have here in Fort Lauderdale. And I look forward to continue working with you guys.
All right, great. Thank you, Senator.
Representative
DuBose, are you still on the line?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Mayor? And congratulations to you guys being sworn in. I'm here looking at the chamber. It's changed a bit since I was there, but I like the new look. Listen, Senator Farmer, Senator Thurston, Representative Lamarca pretty much laid it out. I will say the good thing is that your current leadership on our side has direct connection to the city of Fort Lauderdale, which makes you all a priority for us. We've had some success, and we spoke, recently about the water issues, and we did have money that made it through the process, at least on the legislative side, to the governor's office. But due to the pandemic, there had to be some adjustments to the budget. So I do commend you on bringing on Daphne Sanville as well as your existing lobbying team. And I think that that only adds to what you guys have over there. I am here. My door is open. I get it. I know Fort Lauderdale and your issues more than most because I served and I live in Fort Lauderdale. So I'll continue to communicate with your government relations team as well as the city manager, and you guys all have my number. So feel free to give me a call.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I understand State Representative Evan Jenny is on the phone. Evan, are you there? There you are. Unmute yourself.
There we go. How are you, sir?
Good.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it. I don't want to belabor the point because, I'm here with some of my esteemed colleagues who've laid it out. The one thing I will tell you, though, we didn't touch on it that much. The issue of preemption, I think you need to be mentally and emotionally prepared for some level of preemption somewhere. I don't know where, but, it is... the sun's out, so it's probably going to be some point in time where there's a preemption coming out of Tallahassee. I think there's more of an appetite now to really get something done with vacation rentals. So we'll have to see what that vehicle looks like because just because there's a plan for something doesn't mean it's going to be a good fit for the city of Fort Lauderdale. So we'll keep an eye on that. And of course, with the budget, the pandemic has created financial problems for everyone and every institution in the nation and really in the world. So we will be seeing less project money coming down. But I would encourage you to, as Senator Farmer mentioned, really get in front of those appropriation chairs. It can only be a positive that they know who you are and what you're asking for and why it's needed in the community. Because a lot of decisions that happen in that appropriations process can happen at the drop of a hat. So I would encourage early and often. But with that, I'll leave the floor to all of you.
Mayor, could I ask representatives a couple questions?
Sure, go right ahead.
Great, thanks, Mayor. Hey, Representative Jenny and Representative DuBose, thank you both, and thank you both. Representative Jenny, you were working hard on the preemption fight for vacation rentals in especially southwest Fort Lauderdale. That really helped. Thank you. A couple questions for both of you. One, this came from a doctor. We're obviously COVID is just raging through. We've passed 1 million cases in the state. We're limited in what we're able to do. Some of our physicians are expecting bad things ahead before it gets better. One of them was talking to me, who's on the front lines, was talking about something called a layperson standard for healthcare providers for emergency response as Good Samaritans. I think basically what it does is kind of lessens the legal duty. New York has some standard like this. Have you ever heard of that? Does that ring any bells to either of you? It may not.
No, at this point, no. I have not, and I haven't heard any. I know about it, but I haven't heard any conversations in our particular legislature about that.
Okay, yeah, and the argument was if we could kind of lessen, if there could be less of a heightened standard for healthcare providers, there would be an increased interest and willingness to kind of engage in emergency situations.
Yeah, I will tell you, and I'm not speaking out of school. This is just what I know. The governor doesn't have any plans, at least what he said publicly, in terms of doing anything else at this point with that. So it would come down to an act of the legislature. I wouldn't expect an executive order on that. Just from what Governor DeSantis said publicly, I think it was about 48 hours ago at a press conference. So, given that fact, I would think that it'll be up to the legislature. And I have not heard, I've heard rumblings about certain bills that are coming out and will be coming out and seen some advanced copies of them. But I have not seen that addressed as of yet. But look, there's 120 members from 120 different communities. It's impossible to know what everyone's thinking at this point, but we'll be sure to keep an eye out for it. That's for sure. But that goes for anything COVID related.
Yep.
And Commissioner, this is Senator Farmer. This is frankly
a kind of a solution in search of a problem. There's been no showing of any kind of liability problems whatsoever for emergency responders.
Okay.
COVID really isn't an emergency response situation. You're
Yep.
talking about diagnoses. Certainly, and there's no, I just had some data checked recently, and there were a grand total of 4 liability lawsuits in the entire state of Florida filed over the issue of whether someone contracted COVID due to somebody else. The truth of the matter is, those cases don't exist because they're nearly impossible to prove. How do you prove that you caught
Right.
COVID in any particular place? You know,
Yep.
so I would caution if they come to you all as a city commission proposing some standard like this. It's really a dangerous thing. History has shown us where you take away accountability, you lose responsibility and you lose responsible behavior, and people aren't going to take necessary precautions. So I would caution you all to be very careful of that Trojan horse if it's
Okay.
presented.
No, that's good. That's good
Yeah.
feedback. I didn't heard that. So, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Senator. And I
Absolutely.
know this is probably the worst time to come hat in hand, but we're talking about some form of a bridge, a tunnel through downtown for train and freight and so forth. Has that come to has anyone talked about that in the state as a possible funding source in that possibility?
Well, I mean, funding is going to be difficult, and this year, no matter what. So it's for a project of that size, everything is going to have a greater mass than it currently does. Its weight is going to be a lot more difficult of a lift. But look, if you don't ask, you won't receive anything at all. So I think you have to be upfront and continue to push for that, but also be realistic, just in terms of the reality of the situation. You know, the state of Florida does not have the right to print their own money. So given that fact, and look, we are, this is a dirty little secret of state government, but we are tremendously dependent on the federal government when it comes to the overall breakdown of our state budget from year to year. It can vary as high as 50% of our state budget is passed through from federal programs. So you need to be aware of that. And you know, this could be difficult, but like I said, it can't hurt to ask. It's an important artery. It's something that needs to be done for the city and the county as a whole. I think it definitely has a regional impact. So it has a lot of things going for it. I would say its only real drawback is the current economic environment that we find ourselves in. So I think you definitely, and look, it can't hurt. It cannot hurt to ask. The worst thing that somebody's going to tell you in Tallahassee is no. And you have a great team. You know, we've all talked about Daphne. Daphne, we've all worked with in this delegation for a long time. But Candace and Lauren and everybody over at Trips, Scott Eriks, and Ron Book, Raina, everybody, Kelly, everybody over at Ron Book. You know, you have some really top-notch people. So lean on them as well. You know, we can tell you what's going on behind closed doors. But you know, they have that is a very talented group of people you've assembled. And I know that I can speak, I don't like speaking for other members, but I know I can speak for everybody on this call when I tell you, you have a team that, if it's possible, you can get it done. It's just going to be a matter of, are the funds actually physically available for you? So I think you should press forward on that, but also with that understanding that it may take a little bit of work and maybe some time as well, but that's the reality of it. And Commissioner, you and I have been friends for long enough now that I'm not going to sugarcoat it with you. That's your real obstacle right now, because like I said, you got a great team. You have a delegation that stands behind you. You have a bunch of effective legislators in your delegation for the city and for the county. So you have a lot of things going in your favor. It's just the ravages of COVID that you know that really you're contending with at this juncture.
Okay. Thanks, Representative. Thanks, Mayor. That's all I've got.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, Daphne. Sorry to keep you waiting.
So we're going to keep it really high level at this point, Mayor, and I'll just let Daphne Moore introduce herself. She's new to our team. Glad to have her.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be part.
She's connected with our delegation and has worked with them a lot in the past. And I think she will assist in our management of our legislative agenda very well. So Daphne, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Everything, the representatives, the senator, leader, co-leader, thank you. Looking forward to.
Microphone a little bit more.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm very soft spoken, so.
But you carry a big stick, right?
Basically everything that our delegation had said, I pretty much scripted out. So keeping it high level, we have to look at the sovereign immunity issue. It's going to come back to us. Looking at COVID affecting appropriations, the House now has a rule where there has to be a 50% match. You have to show the demonstrable return on investment. You have to have the community need identifiable. So and the project has to be shovel ready. Basically, the permitting and design process has to be done, and you have to be ready to break ground and spend whatever you request within the year on the appropriation side. And just like the delegation said, it's going to be very difficult because of COVID to get these individual member projects. I've added in fundamental principles, and based on the comments that I've heard today, we can add in the liability for lawsuits, tailor that, wordsmith it, get it in there, get it approved. Sales tax legislation has been filed. The Wayfair bill about remote internet manufacturing sales, that's something that we're going to closely monitor. Preemption is in there. I have very good relationships with past appropriations chairs. I plan on keeping the relationships with the current appropriations chairs when they're released. I know the list came out right before the meeting, so I haven't had a chance to see who's chairing what. I know education is important to some of you. Senator Jones, who recently got elected, have a very good relationship with him, is the vice chair of education. So we can work on different initiatives when it comes to workforce development. For water quality, maintaining a minimum of the $50 million recurring for beach renourishment should be the statement. So my recommendation is to modify that. We did receive in the past session, I want to say, the 50 million. We want to keep it recurring. If they give us an increase, that's great, but we want to keep it at that minimum. And that is it.
Okay. Any questions?
I do. I have questions and comments. Thank you. We're so excited to have you, Daphne. Welcome to the city. Just a few questions, and maybe we'll have more of a presentation. So maybe this is jumping the gun a little bit. I heard Vice Mayor talking about, making an impact and mentioning, the Florida League of Cities. We can also tie in the Broward League of Cities with that group, Vice Mayor. So I think there are two issues we can really grab a hold of and make an impact on this year. And that would be the preemption of this no smoking on the beach, which we will vote on later today. And I believe we all support it because we've talked about it publicly a few times. And Representative LaMarca is no longer with us, but I did hear him speak about that as well as the home rule for vacation rental. So I know he supports that. I'm sure the rest of the representatives and senators on this call probably support it too. I know the Broward League of Cities and the Florida League also talked about it. So I think, those home rule for vacation rentals, we really need to get people involved because the lobbying arm and funding against us is huge. And until, we really get these organizations like the Broward League and the Florida League, engaged and involved in lobbying, I think that's where we can make the biggest impact as elected officials, is on this preemption. These areas, appropriations will be very difficult this year. I understand that. But I think when we are communicating and talking and lobbying, I hope we really all push hard on those two issues, because I think we can get somewhere with it this year. I would, let's see. I would like to know a little bit more, and maybe Daphne, you'll hear about it as legislative session unfolds. How will we participate in the vaccine distribution? When I hear about it being discussed at a federal level at this point, I always hear them say it's up to the governor, how they want to get it out. So I'm sure the legislature and the whole body will be focused on that this year. So how can we help? I know we've done a lot, even with the rapid testing in our area. I just want us to be prepared and ready to receive and implement as soon as possible, or maybe it's just going to the hospitals. I don't know, but I think we have a pretty good system in place that we've started.
Do.
And I want to continue that. Get those vaccinations for, whoever's first in line, and then, second, third, fourth. And so I'm sure they'll talk about that, but I'd like to know more about that distribution plan, because it seems like it's going to be hot and heavy right about the time that session starts, when other people besides the first responders and the elderly will be in line. I'm assuming they'll talk about it. Let's see. When I heard Commissioner Sorensen talking about the tunnel and the bridge issue, it's my understanding that that kind of stuff kind of comes through MPO. I mean, maybe there's an appropriation bill, but it seems like the funding is Fed, state, MPO as a body kind of appropriates that, if you will, as opposed to a member filed appropriation. So am I off, or where am I on that?
You're 50% there.
Okay, good.
So MPO.
50% of money available. Okay.
Aside from the MPO, we have to look at the FDOT work plan to see if we can either get the project in there if it isn't already allocated in there, but that's something that we can further discuss to see the viability of it. And working with our contract lobbying, our firms, we can start the conversation and then slowly build into what we need.
Okay. Is the FDOT work plan a member-driven bill, or that's just
No.
totally something separate?
It's a completely separate work plan.
So we as the city will work with the FDOT work plan in addition to the MPO to help fund whatever it is we're looking for with that tunnel and that ask. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. The last item I wanted to talk about, thank you for mentioning education. I appreciate that. Workforce development. That'll be a priority of mine for the next 4 years for sure. And, one bill that actually my husband had when he was in office for 8 years, he was able to get funded. And I don't know if any member could pick this up in our delegation. It was small, but it was big for the schools. I believe it was $5,000 a school for their robotics program. And I know STEM is important to us, and we are looking at aviation, avionics, STEM opportunities in terms of career technical education. I just think it'd be a great win to try to get that back in the budget. Like I said, I believe it left when he left. And if someone, I don't know if Representative Lamarca is interested in picking it back up, maybe we can find somebody, but it also applied at the college level as well. So the colleges, I know a private school in my district, I know a lot of schools got it because they're all eligible. But so public high schools, private high schools, and the colleges were all able to get a little bump for the robotics program.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I do have one comment about the robotics program. I know.
Please again, speak into the mic. Thanks.
It looks like it's right here.
No.
For the robotics program, Senator Simpson or President Simpson of the Senate, he had mentioned something about higher education and funding STEM. Whether it's level increase or decrease, we are not sure yet, but that is something that is on our radar and that we will be looking into.
Okay, thank you.
And the final thing that I failed to mention was the governor's anti-protester bill. It is on our radar. Something hasn't been filed, but it seems that the Senate does not have an appetite to pass it, but we've been surprised in past sessions as to what's happened, but that's something we definitely have our contract team working on.
Thank you. Mayor, we do also have our contract lobbying teams on the call. I see Lauren and Candace there. I see Ron and Raina. Do you have any questions for any of them? Or conversely, I'll ask them, does anybody from our contract lobbying teams have anything they would like to add to the presentation?
Yes.
Hang on one second.
Before they begin, can I just say something? Sorry, just a second, Ron, if you don't mind. So, I belong to this urban mayors group, and it's just a informal group of the larger cities in Fort Lauderdale. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting, a virtual meeting, of course, and the mayor of Orlando, Tampa, Hialeah, largest cities in Florida, we all met, and one of the guest speakers was the incoming chair of the Appropriations Committee. And so I took the opportunity, of course, to ask a couple of questions, and essentially it's just a matter of dollars and cents. And he admitted that we're going to have challenges in trying to fund even existing programs, let alone new programs like education and healthcare. I mean, with the big hit that we're going to take financially, it's, he gave us a sobering estimate as to, what we could expect in this year. So whatever the state representatives and the senators have told us today is consistent with what he was trying to lay out. But of course, when you have diminishing resources, obviously, you're going to fight for what you can get, and we have to be there aggressively to try to get our share. Since, as has been pointed out by Senator Thurston, that we are, we are a donor city and donor county, and it's important that as those resources continue to diminish, how they allocate and parcel out what resources they do have is going to be very, very important to our city. So, so in terms of what Commissioner Sorensen talked about, as far as public works projects like a bridge or a tunnel or infrastructure, in the meetings that I've attended, the Department of Transportation has never brought up the issue of, well, we don't have any more money, so we can't build a bridge or a tunnel. That has never been part of the conversation. We'll be meeting with them again, and certainly we're going to ask about that. But I think their funding sources are different and may not be as impacted as the typical funding sources for the general budget of the legislature. But just going forward,
Mayor, that's not what I'm hearing from FDOT.
Is that right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
you may be so Commissioner. When we have that meeting with FDOT again,
yeah,
then certainly we're gonna bring it up and say, hey, if we're gonna delay this, then let us know, because the last meeting that we had was during the middle of COVID this summer, and I didn't hear one peep out of them saying that oh, we don't have the money. So thanks for bringing this to my attention.
And I mean, you're probably getting better information than I am, but what I'm hearing, Mayor, just for whatever it's worth, is when I bring up the tunnel, which I really love the idea of the tunnel, I hear no, costs way too much, not going to get the funding, too tough to crack that nut.
Right. That's because they don't want to think outside the box, and and they're talking about a bridge that they intend to fund. We have opportunities to reach out to the federal government, and
right.
Let me just say this: a bridge is going to devastate our downtown. It's just going to completely devastate him or she, our downtown, our government center. I've seen the plans that the county has penciled together about crisscrossing this intersection here in Broward and Andrews with transportation plans, with a elevated railroad and a bus terminal and all this other stuff. And we're not part of that conversation, by the way, and we're trying to turn that around so that we are part of that conversation. But the reality is that let's not make the mistakes that other cities have done years ago throughout this country. They're undoing a lot of those mistakes, and it costs a lot more to undo a mistake than it is to do it right the first time. But I hear what you're saying, Commissioner. We're definitely going to do our best to try to move our agenda forward. And if they're saying that, oh, COVID is preventing us from building what we really need to build, I don't buy that. And I also know that there are other funding sources that we can reach out to that would help us through this process. So
absolutely,
and I'll definitely keep you informed.
And Mayor, great. And just one last kind of perspective. I'm guessing we're all in line on this. All of us is we love the idea of commuter rail. We love the idea of having the coastal link. That's phenomenal. We value the economic impact of freight and so forth. But if we keep freight trains on the surface and have to keep the drawbridge, and then have a 56-foot high bridge above that, and or a tunnel below that, it's not as great a solution in my estimation as if we are able to somehow figure out a way to get all rail in a tunnel.
You're right. And that's something we got to work on. There's some discussion about trying to move freight rail on the western tracks.
Right.
But you're right. You have a bridge and you have you still have to have the freight rails at ground level. I mean,
Right.
it's just not making any sense to me. So
I agree.
So I hear you, and I'll certainly keep everyone apprised of
Right. Thank you.
developments as we move forward. Okay, Mr. Book, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You didn't, Mayor. I just wanted to briefly add for you and for the benefit of the commission on a couple of the questions that you asked. First of all, on the FDOT issue and the work plan, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Commissioner Moritas, that all gets embodied within the main budget based on what the transportation funding committees ultimately agree upon. The governor has clearly said he wants transportation projects advance funded as a part of a COVID relief effort to put people back to work. That said, no one should lose sight of the fact, Mayor, Commissioner Sorensen, that there is a significant shortage on local, state, and federal gas tax resources. I don't know that you can look in this budget cycle for some large project unless it's already well placed within the count, your own TPO, MPO list. If it's on the list, you can move projects up. That's why you have the firms you have available to you. I just wanted to add that piece. I don't know enough about the tunnel, pro and con. We take our directions, Mayor, Commissioners, from you. On the sovereign immunity issue, I wanted to go back briefly. Daphne hit it. But let me be clear about one thing. If anybody thinks that there's not going to be a tort reform package this year and that we are not at risk, they are fooling themselves. Look, they have not passed tort reform in 20 plus years since Jeb Bush was governor. Senator Simpson and Representative Speaker Sprowls are committed to a tort reform bill, and President Simpson has been working on it for a year. The business community and all of the business justice reform folks are out working on it. That's what I call silo one on tort reform. Silo two is COVID liability reform. If you wait to be sued the way Publix was a week ago, or you wait for these cases to mature, or the matters to mature, it will be too late to protect yourself. Whether we should or we shouldn't make a change is one thing. But to go back to sovereign immunity for a minute, if at the end of the day, they're giving all these tort reform things to the business community, and they want to throw a dog bone to the trial lawyers, the place to focus on is hurting cities and counties and school districts and special districts. Sovereign immunity reform has been on the table for 6 years. They made a change and raised the limit, as everybody knows, a couple of years ago. The issue of abolishing it, the issue of raising the limits, the issue of raising the limits and indexing them remains out there. I don't have an answer as to why the Florida League didn't put it high on their agenda, but if we act like ostriches and we don't talk to our lawmakers up front and make it clear how opposed we are, if they do the tort reform bill, which I know they're going to do, and it ends up in a conference process, and we get served up in a conference committee because we haven't adequately and aggressively worked the lawmakers up front to oppose eliminating sovereign immunity or raising it significantly or raising it and indexing it, that's a mistake. I don't know, Mayor, Mr. Manager, what your risk management team, Mr. City Attorney, I don't know what we've looked at one way or the other on COVID issues that may or may not affect you, but the time to address that and get them on the table is in the next 30 or to 45 days, not when we get to session. Whether there should be limitations on it, whether there shouldn't, whether there should be some evidentiary standard change, I don't know. But your risk management folks and whoever handles your liability issues, Mr. Manager, are the ones that ought to look at that. And then the last thing I would simply raise, I believe you're going to see the next round And I raise it as much to
Lost.
You went on mute, Ron. You're on mute.
You
the
push.
There you go.
pension, the pension reform issue is coming. And again, President Simpson handled that bill his first year in the process. He did not get nearly as much as he wanted to get. And just simply making sure we're paying attention to it and that you all as city commissioners, when you're talking to lawmakers, know that those are the issues from a local perspective you want to focus on from a substance perspective.
All right, great. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Mayor.
much. Thank you, Mr. Book. Chris.
Yeah, so where this will go from here, Mr. Mayor, is we'll take the comments that we heard today based upon what we published in the agenda. We'll make some tweaks to it, as Daphne indicated. It'll come back to you for approval at the evening agenda. You'll adopt it by resolution, and then we will transmit it to our contract lobbying teams, and that'll be our position for the year. So you'll get another bite at this apple before it's official.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions of any of our representatives?
Mayor,
Yes.
to Ron's point, is the bridge tunnel, is that on our MPO prioritization list?
I do not believe it is.
Well, let me just say this. I'm on the NPO, and
Right.
at several meetings back, we discussed it. It was too preliminary at this point to even put it on a wish list.
Right.
So I'm working my way through that process. It's not on this year's wish list, but I do know that the leadership and the executive director are both on board with trying to bring this forward. But keeping in mind that funding, like Mr. Book said, funding sources are becoming more scarce because the gas tax upon which the MPO relies has been reduced this year. So we have to make our way through this, but hey, if it doesn't happen this year, it can happen next year. We're not in a hurry. So the good things take time, and I'd rather do something right than just have to do something right now. So
absolutely.
Yeah, just a quick question, Mayor, to follow up with you and Ben. Is the county working on this because they're using penny sales tax funding, or are they working on it in partnership with MPO? Why are they involved? Why are they doing this more than we are?
Well, because they're part of the group of funding sources. So yes, you're
They would
right.
operate it.
They will operate.
Well, they would pay for the operations.
Brightline's going to operate it.
I think penny sales tax may be heavily involved in funding it.
Yeah, the county's contribution will probably come from that, but then it runs through the county. So obviously they want to.
I don't think Brightline's funding the operations, Mayor.
Well,
at least FDOT told me the county's funding operations, but
all right, let me find out about that.
I might not be getting good information.
Yeah, let me. You may be right. But I thought Brightline was going to be operating the coastal link. So let me.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking about the operations of the bridge or tunnel.
Oh, no. I'm just talking about the railroad line. The operation of the bridge of the tunnel, that you're definitely right. Brightline would not be operating that. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, yeah, I was just wondering where.
So we obviously have a lot of questions that need to be answered, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks when we have the next round of meetings, I'll be able to report back to this commission with the information that I receive. I want to thank every member of our legislative delegation for participating. Thank you so much for keeping us informed and representing our interests in Tallahassee. Thank you all, our lobbying staff, for all the good work that you do. Appreciate continuing to work hand in hand with you to advance the efforts that we need to make in order to secure the projects that have to take place in our city, and so we'll just move forward and we'll get back to the commission with information after we've had these meetings. Okay. No one signed up for business 1, so there's no one to speak. Business 2, rescheduling city commission meeting dates for July and August of 2021. Mr. City Manager.
This one I'll actually hand over to the clerk. This is to formalize where we are with July and August, I believe.
This is with regard to the break.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
It's just we had discussed July, the possibility of moving July 6th to July 2nd.
I think Commissioner Sorensen brought this up, right? Commissioner Sorensen, did you bring this up?
Yeah, I think I did, or, yep.
So you wanted to have the meeting in July on July 6th. And then when did you want to have the return meeting?
I think he wanted the 2nd.
So, yeah, I was suggesting July 1st or 2nd, if we could have, instead of July 6th, could we have July 1st or 2nd?
All right,
Just
so
the first action.
the second meeting in June is the 16th. So it would be about 2 weeks, excuse me, the 15th. So it would be about a little over 2 weeks later. Okay. Do you want to have it on the 1st or the 2nd?
Remember the 1st, there's that issue with us receiving tax digest information that I need to look at Laura and see if Laura thinks we can be ready on the 1st or the 2nd.
That's the meeting that we have to establish the millage rate, correct?
I think you want to do it as a walk.
Well, we're not, see, the point was that we're not going to get the information from the property appraiser's office until the 1st.
Right. Yep. And so we had asked Laura, if could we still do it late the evening of the 1st or the 2nd?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Laura Reese. So we looked at the regulations and we'll be able to advertise with the old information. So your proposed budget and all of that would be advertised using June 1st. And then we'd have to modify 2 resolutions, the one for debt and the one for the millage rate. And then we can walk those on that evening.
Hold on, July 1st, Laura, or June 1st?
I believe we could do either. It's going to
July
be
1st or July 2nd?
Yeah, what Laura's saying is we're going to have to publish based upon June 1st numbers. So we would just go into it knowing that we have to modify 2 resolutions.
And I would just advise against doing anything walk on when it regards budget. I'll just put that out there.
So then we wouldn't be able to do it till the 6th because we wouldn't have the information till July 1st.
It's cutting it tight, Commissioner.
So what's the date we're trying to do, Mayor? What's the date that we had before that? I'm sorry.
Well, the actual the actual date would be July 6th.
Tuesday the 6th.
I think the 6th is better because you look at July 1st and 2nd, Commissioner Sorensen, that's 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
And you talking about either Friday? That Friday's definitely out.
So I think
my idea was to get it done so that we have 4th of July weekend that's free for folks to do it.
Well, maybe we have to do it on the 1st then. I mean, just still cutting it close. What if you go out of town? Most people are going to travel on that Thursday. I mean, if we do that, it's just a conversation piece.
I'm just thinking that we should probably keep it on the 6th. You can have the weekend, the whole weekend. And I think I think the 5th is the holiday, if I'm not mistaken.
Sunday's the 4th, yeah.
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, so I think we'd be pushing it.
And I'm not sure our staff would be in the best position to provide the right calculations that we need to make the ultimate decision on the millage rate. I mean, we're giving you 24 hours to calculate. That's kind of tight, Commissioner.
It is.
If you don't mind.
That's fine. Whatever. All good.
Okay.
Go
You gonna be okay
ahead.
with that, Ben?
Yeah.
But instead of doing it on the 13th, which is what we would have done, we can do it on the 6th.
No, we were never going to do it on the 13th.
On the 6th. That was always our meeting.
It was
Is that
always
right?
this.
Okay.
No, it was the 6th. Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay.
But Commissioner Sorensen, you'll have the entire month of July now to celebrate July 4th.
All right. So, and then
I
when
celebrate it all year long. So
and when would be the,
You have a jacket for that, I think.
yeah, and when would be the return date?
believe it.
The 17th?
Yes, August 17th,
That's correct.
Tuesday.
Okay. Okay.
That's good?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor, I have some questions about the calendar.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And these are from memos that we have received in the past from both Phil Thornburg and also Jeff. Any consensus yet? Let's look at, first of all, Jeff, that what you had sent out about the annual goal setting session. Are we going to set that date? Because I just wanted to know for Friday, January 29, and then also for the Joint Commission Budget Advisory Board workshops. Are we going to set the first meetings in March, June, and August, which I believe would be March 2, June 1, and August 17?
And that's why we gave the calendar in case you wanted to have that conversation today. So far, I've heard back from 2 of the 5 commission and the January 29th for the prioritization and goal setting
Is good?
so far with 2 of the commission.
Okay,
And
that's
I
a
haven't-
Friday, right?
That's correct.
From 9 to 1? Okay,
Yes.
I'm fine with that. And then what about those 3 meetings with the joint meetings with Budget Advisory Board?
And so far on that, I've heard back at the first meeting from one of the commission.
So that would, I'm okay, by the way, just with the first Tuesdays of each of those. So it would be March 2, June 1, and August 17. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Is that a lunch meeting? Yeah, that's great. Any Tuesday that we're here, you can schedule me.
Yep, I've already responded. Yeah.
11th, that's
Okay, great.
11:30, right?
Great.
Okay, so those are all set. Thank you. And then just one other question from another memo that we got. Have we made any progress with regards to the downtown countdown on New Year's Eve, Chris?
It will be doing something remotely in advance of New Year's, and we'll stream something that night, but there will not be a actual physical event that night.
Okay. So that pretty much follows what Phil sent us back on November 6th.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Those are my questions for the calendar. Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager, do you have any reports?
I do not, unless
Okay.
anybody has any questions that I haven't answered yet. No official report.
Okay, any further business at the conference meeting? There being none, conference meeting is concluded. Let us now move on to the OPEB meeting. I'm not going to read the preamble again. Would you do the roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Commissioner
For the CRA meeting?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Commissioner Moritas,
Here.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Here.
Chair Trentalis.
Here. Okay, so we're going to BR1, other post-employment benefits trust quarterly investment report, period ending September 30th, 2020.
We'll go to Susan Grant for that.
Good afternoon again, Susan Grant, Finance Director. We had touched on the OPEB trust funds earlier. For the quarter, their yield was 4.93%, and for the fiscal year to date, 9.1%. As I said, higher than our assumed rate of return of 7%.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Any questions from the commission for Susan or staff on OPEB?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, then we'll just, motion,
to-
we'll close that meeting.
There is one motion that is on the agenda next, which is approval of the minutes, and then we can adjourn that meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion to
Move
approve
to approve.
Tuesday, September 15th? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. So move to close the OPEB meeting? If we
So
need-
move.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
OPEB meeting is closed. Let's go back now to the CRA, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. CRA.
Oh.
First item
We'll
is
need the clerk to call the
Call the
roll.
roll.
call the roll. Yes, thank you, Jeff.
Commissioner Moritas,
Here.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Here.
and Chair Trentalis stepped out for a minute.
Okay, thank you. First item is M1, and that's the minutes of Tuesday, November 17th. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved.
Anyone? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Yes. Okay. All in favor?
Commissioner Sorensen and Commissioner Murray.
Yes, that's good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
That carries. Thank you. M2, motion approving budget amendment, return Central City Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA fund balance for reallocation. And the mayor is back. Mayor, I only just read the title
No,
of it.
keep going. Steve, you're doing great. Keep going.
Great, you're doing great.
I am? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's so exciting. Thank you. Okay.
This is his first time ever commanding that authority.
On Inauguration Day, but the mayor made us change the Inauguration Day meeting so we could go to the inauguration. I was thinking, didn't he trust me to run the meeting on Inauguration Day? Okay. So, Mayor, we're on M2. I only read the title. Take it away.
So on M2, motion approving budget amendment.
Yes, sir.
Turn Central City Community Redevelopment Agency fund balance for reallocation. Clarence, do you have any comments on this? Does anyone have any questions of Clarence, Mr. Woods? There being none,
No.
I hear a motion to approve the budget amendment.
So moved.
So second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Chair Trentals.
Yes, and the motion's approved. M3, motion approving $125,000 commercial facade program loan and a $225,000 property and business improvement loan to BH3 DJ Flagler LLC. There's a mouthful for the fabric project located at 801, 807, 815, and 819 Northeast 2nd Avenue. I have one person who signed up to speak, Mr. Gregory Friedman. Mr. Friedman, are you on the line?
He is there. We'll recognize him.
Mr. Friedman, are you just here to answer questions? I believe you're here on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All
Are you
right.
just here to answer questions?
Certainly.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Friedman? Okay.
I don't. No.
Do I hear a motion?
I do want to make a couple comments about the issue itself.
Okay. Will someone please make a motion so we can open discussion?
Move to approve.
Motion
Second.
and seconded. Okay, Commissioner McKenzie.
As you can see by my vote, I don't oppose giving the money to the project. But as I was speaking to staff, in particular the manager the other day, we give the money to these property owners, and then what happens in this case, I think it's going to be 8 days opportunity for rent somewhere down the line after they do whatever it is they do. And then tenants come in, lease these places. And especially now, and I think Commissioner Glassman has done such a good job with the CARES Act and this rental assistance. There's no funds for that person that comes in and operates the business. And I think after hearing what we heard with our legislators today in terms of be prepared for this nightmare ahead, I'm just putting this out to the commission. Maybe we think about it. I mean, I don't care whose district. I just care about projects. When these new tenants come, because they're going to be paying market rate for the rental, maybe we create something within our own CRA that could help that person that's going to come and open up the brewery or open up the art exhibit, whatever it is they desire to put in there, but bringing this industry or these jobs to our area, because so often, like I'll take Ayel, for example, in my district. I mean, he has a lot of empty space, and I'll use the Joneses as well. I mean, they get the money to do the improvements, and then here comes the tenant getting stuck with the market rate rent and starting a new business maybe there's another tool we put in the tool belt, Mayor, that can help sustain them, especially during these trying times, since that's what a CRA is intended to do. So I just wanted to put it out there. And I think it's a great project. I would never vote against one. I'm just worried about those 8 possible tenants, and I'm not sure if that's how many units it is once they finish the facade. And that's my comment.
Well, I think your point is well taken. Obviously, the owners of the property would probably not want to rent to anyone who couldn't afford it. But let's see how it goes. Let's hope the business community will revive itself and we would have viable tenants going forward. But I think your point is well taken. There, I mean, we do have a business rental program. It's not quite. We haven't really given that much money out, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but that's because of COVID. I'm saying,
yeah,
we're going to have some different times on these streets moving forward. And some folks have signed leases with a lot of the folks in Flagler, the Bass District, my district, in the CRA boundaries, of course, at market rate. And now everybody's hurting because of our restrictions on what they can and cannot do. So I'm just outside of what we get when it's a state of emergency. Those funds you're talking about are a result of the emergency. But we have CRA dollars that we can utilize or put an extra tool in the belt. And we got to think about it. I'm not saying just do it off the cuff. Let's just think about, what we can do to sustain some of these folks that have invested some serious dollars in taking on the leases of these improved buildings.
Okay, your point is well taken. Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, Mr. Clerk, I want to call the roll.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Chair Trentalis?
Yes, and the motion's approved. Moving on to R1, resolution modifying the property and business improvement incentive for the Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights area. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduce.
It's been introduced.
And I have some comments, Mayor.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. I'm having issues with this, and we did have a good discussion at my pre-agenda meeting. I find that when we permit these kinds of waivers and items might not come back to the commission as much, there is a sense in the community that it's just not as transparent, and they don't get a chance to really look at things or, hear them aired out or comment. And this, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but this would mean that some of this would bypass the commission then on these issues that are being discussed here, in terms of the waivers and the increases in the limits, correct?
There would be more authority. That is correct.
Correct. So I'm just not in favor of that concept. I think that these items should come to the commission so that they're aired out in a more public way and in a more transparent way.
Yeah, so what's the reason for wanting to do this? Because I agree with the Vice Mayor. I mean, I think we're beholden to our community in a more direct way, and I think that lots of times we get asked questions and then we're told, "Oh, well, staff already approved it, and we had nothing to do with it." And I feel a little emasculated by a process that does take away some of our authority to participate in the decision making. So,
Clarence, can you give us some background with the discussion that went on with the CRA board and all?
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. This item in no way strips you as a board of any authority. What this is doing is it's raising the limit of the property business improvement program. As it currently is constituted, the max amount that you can get in the PBIP program is $225,000. That's under that particular program. And the next level is our DIP program, which you have to have a project that's $5 million or more in order to have a incentive that is tied directly to the program. what gets waived, or what we've been having, is this issue of having to come to you all and waive the loan limit when we have projects that are in excess of $225,000. So, for instance, one of the projects you just approved before, where it was $3 million, if we basically had to waive the $225,000 limit, you still had the full project before you, and you had all of the information to vet it. It's just that we weren't held to the $225,000 limit. This raises that limit from $225,000 to up to $5 million, which is where the next program starts. And anything in between the $225,000 up to $5 million, if it's more than $225,000, then up to $1 million, then they can get 75% of the project cost. If it's over $1 million, then they would only get 50% of the project cost. Anything less than that, then it would continue to be the same program.
Okay, so I get where you're going. It's not really taking away our ability to make those decisions, but it's
not at all.
But it's giving the applicant more money to put in their project.
The projects that we're getting now are not these little small projects that are like $225,000, and then we'll have to add the facade program, which is another $125,000, for a total of $350,000 in order to do a project.
So, okay, so now we have to achieve a balance here. And what is that balance between trying to support a new venture that is going to establish itself within the CRA district versus having enough money to be able to help as many people as possible? If we're putting a lot more money now into a single project, we have finite resources. And once those finite resources are depleted, we can't help the next guy. And that's what we're bumping up against here, is that possibility. So, Commission, I ask you all to think about that, because construction costs are going up. And so let's say a person needs $500,000 to open up a restaurant today. In 2 years from now, it may be $600,000. The percentage of their participation may be the same, whatever that percentage needs to be, but the actual cost is going up. So, but at the same time, we're bumping up against some limits here. We have finite resources, and I'm just concerned that we're going to be denying opportunities for other people who come up a little later looking for money, and we're not going to have it because we gave a lot to the first person who applied.
Which potentially can happen now anyway. It happens now anyway, where we fund a project that's probably more, or it requires more subsidy than other projects. You still have the authority to choose or to dictate how much we actually provide in incentives. What this does is it, eliminates us having to come here for a waiver all the time of projects that's over the $225,000 limit.
But I don't mind coming here for the waivers of that. I really don't.
We can assess our balance, our budget.
Yes, and we just have a little bit more of a hands-on as the process is rolling. We're just more connected to it, and so is the public. What I would add to the conversation is that also in our backup, it says that although not presented to the advisory board, staff recommends maintaining the higher percentages for smaller projects as follows, and then delineates that. But that troubles me that was not, that part of this proposal was not even presented to the advisory board. And my last point is I like a comment in the minutes from the advisory board. When the advisory board took this up, it did pass 10-1, but the one dissenting, I thought the comment was good, thought that the philosophy driving the cap was that they preferred a large number of smaller projects instead of a smaller number of large projects, because this would give more people the opportunity to create activity in the CRA. Quote, if they're changing their philosophy, they should discuss this as a board and how to spend the remaining funds. I thought those were good points.
Who made that dissent?
That was Leanne Barber.
I figured.
But District 2. We're out there.
Well, again, that's my thinking as well. You know, I'm kind of in. I personally I agree with the vice mayor that I'm not saying that a person can't get more money. I just think that we should be able to assess our balance sheet at that point in time to determine how we want to spend that money. I kind of agree with you there. Any other comments?
Well, also, when I'm looking at this, Clarence, it looks like it says in the past 2 years, you've requested the waiver. So you've only come to us twice in 2 years. I don't think you're not overburdening us with that.
Well,
not often. So it probably is a good idea for us to know if a project has, gone over, or what the extra costs are, and before we can make that decision.
This is more so looking at our existing pipeline and the projects that we have moving forward. What I would agree with it is that there is going to be a limited amount of resources as far as what we have left in the CRA account, and even what we project going forward. But that doesn't preclude us from looking at each project on the merits, and us coming to you and suggesting what would be a worthy amount of investment in a particular project that is beyond the $225,000 limit. We can continue the way in which we are going, but what has happened is every time we come and we say we're looking for a waiver, it's like, why we keep waiving the program limits. Well, this was just to fix the fix.
But I think it's okay. It's like a dock waiver. I haven't seen one dock waiver application that's ever been denied in this commission or by the advisory board. I just think we like to handle. Anyone else have any comments, Commissioner Sorensen, McKenzie? If not, then
I do want to make one more comment, Clarence. You mentioned the pipeline, and there are a lot to award a particular project to know what is coming, what's in the plan.
2025.
2025. So do we have a list of everything kind of that we're looking at from now till 20? Probably. Maybe it's a good idea to see kind of what we're looking at, and then when you bring us something, we know really what.
We can do that. We can provide you.
Unless it's not available. Just thinking, yeah. If it is, I'd like to.
Commissioner Sorensen, you're off mute. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add in, thank all.
Okay. All right. What do you want to do with this then? I mean, should we just defer it?
I would just ask that you deny the resolution.
Right. Deny it? Okay. So the resolution's been introduced. Please call the roll.
Well, the resolution states that it's approving, so we would have to
we just vote no.
Go ahead and modify that.
So, well,
it says what, Alan?
The resolution is to approve it. So if we vote no, that means we don't.
That's correct.
Yeah, but
yeah.
But I want to say something. I want to go back to what Clarence and the CRA and the board are trying to do. I think it's a good push to raise the limit, because oftentimes, because the limit's been the same for so long, we just tell folks this is all that you could do. By raising the limit, so anyone that fills out the application gets to go to that limit. And like you said, it doesn't take our ability to vet the project away. It's just saying now you come and get 350 as opposed to 225 or whatever that limit was that we raised it to. Now in my district, I don't know about you guys' district, that matters. I don't have a lot of large $5 million projects unless, some investors are coming in to look at, a big payday. Mine is a lot of mom and pop type situations. And if you go back to the beginning of time when we tore down where Rico Trace is now, Vice Mayor, and it's sitting in your district, that was the economic engine of my district. the Black district, and we tore it down with a promise to rebuild. And it's 35, almost 40 years later, and we probably only got, 5 or 6 projects. So now you have a CRA that's sunsetting in 2025. I would like to be able to say, hey, we have this tool at this amount to offer without dealing with the waiver piece. And like you said, if we've only had 2 the last couple of years, but how many projects have we had presented? So I think it's a good tool. I just think how we're looking at it may raise some concerns, but this is the intent of CRAs, is to do some of the things that you can't normally do traditionally, and that won't be allowed to do based on financial institutions not giving for so many years. And we have to be creative in how we get or incentivize folks. And sometimes I know we use words like subsidize, or we're giving you a handout. And there's no pun intended on anybody here. It's just that this is an incentive program, just like it would be if we were doing any other project with a larger amount of money. It's still an incentive to get these folks to invest in this area, and particularly more in Steve and I's district. And now we're trying to go westward with it. And no one's just going to take millions of dollars, come over and invest it and say tomorrow morning we turn on the lights and we got this great business. You got to give them some type of tools, some type of incentives to want to come further west. And as the momentum tips over, then our whole city becomes complete. Our whole city looks like one big city and not districts with variations of economic engines, some that work well, some don't work not so well. And we just got to do a little more. So I think the program helps in my situation because I'm dealing with smaller projects. And I'm speaking to my colleagues. So I just want to put that on the record. The vote goes down how it goes down, and that's why I would support it.
Okay. All right, please call the roll.
Actually, Mayor, someone would need to be willing to introduce it as is, authorizing it, and then a vote taken.
It has been
It was.
introduced.
It was introduced.
Okay,
It has been.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Commissioner McKenzie.
okay, very good.
It is, yes.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving modifications to the Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights Community Redevelopment Area Property and Business Improvement Incentive and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Moritas?
No.
Vice Chair Glassman?
No.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
No.
Chair Trentalis?
No. So the resolution does not pass right now, and maybe we can do this somewhere down the road, but I think that we should keep the process the way it is, the status quo. But we appreciate everything you're doing, Clarence. You've really been great in bringing great businesses to the corridor. So we hope we haven't tied your hands, but I think we can still work together and make this a successful program. R2, the last item on the agenda. This is a resolution authorizing an amount not to exceed $1 million to Broward College for free community workforce education training at the YMCA multi-use facility that is soon to open, right? When is that supposed to open?
Yeah, May.
Wait, let me finish reading. I'm sorry. At 1409 Strunk Boulevard, consisting of a $500,000 property and business improvement program loan and a $500,000 quality of life program community initiative loan, and authorizing the executive director to execute any and all related instruments, delegating authority to the executive director to take certain actions. Yes, Commissioner McKenzie.
I'm sorry.
I thought you had something to say. Someone like to
No,
introduce.
you asked the question. I was saying May.
Oh, okay. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Anyone have any questions with regard to this?
I did just have one question. Will we be getting reports? I know that the backup says 150 to 250 CRA residents will be serviced through this program. And I think that's terrific. I think the whole program's terrific. Will we be getting, updates and how it's going? And
Could you give us status reports like
Yes.
every quarter as to how this program is working?
yes,
Mr. Woods, yes. He's nodding yes. It can't.
great.
Yes.
Nodding all the way.
Nodding all the way.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yes.
Okay.
Clarence Woods, yes.
Thank you.
I think this is an absolutely great program. And when it was presented to me, I thought, finally, we're moving forward and trying to add workers to the workforce, especially disadvantaged youth who never really had the opportunity. I hope we can still name one of the classrooms after.
I'm taking care of that.
You are? Okay,
And
great.
it's not gonna be a classroom. It's gonna be whatever that committee who she's worked alongside for years, what they decide that they want to do in memory of her. So it may be a classroom, it may be a statue, it may be, they are working on all that stuff now. So I don't want to just,
Okay,
inject
great.
something that they don't want but they're gonna bring it to us and we'll bring it back to you.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? If none, it's been
You-
introduced.
Oh, sorry. Not on this topic. Go ahead.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving a property and business improvement loan in the amount of $500,000 and a quality of life award in the amount of $500,000 to Broward College, authorizing the executive director to execute all documents related to this transaction, delegating authority to the executive director to take certain actions and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Great partnership between Broward College, YMCA. Yes.
Chair Trent House?
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Is there any further business of the CRA?
No further business of the CRA. I would like to reopen the conference meeting and ask the chief to do a quick report on license plate readers. He joined us
Sure.
here in the room versus trying to get on electronically, and then we'll
Okay,
move
so
into
let me-
that shade meeting.
Let me adjourn the meeting. CRA meeting is now.
Oh, he was here then left?
CRA meeting is now adjourned.
All over.
So he's still
Yeah,
not here.
so we,
Is he back on camera?
I need like a backup reverse
Well,
camera or something.
Commissioner Sorensen can get that information.
Yeah,
directly
it's-
from,
We'll get it.
Sounds good.
police department.
So now we need to, the purpose of our discussion next is to discuss an unsolicited proposal received by the city. So for those that need to be here, please remain in attendance. For those that don't, we'll need about 5 minutes to convert so that
Okay,
we
so
can
we'll
have
take a
that discussion.
5-minute break and then we'll move into a shade meeting and turn off the camera. Thank you.